Yep, that's me 5 months ago. I was never really the person that was gifted or born with abs. Even though I was skinny as a teenager, I just never had abs, and it seems like a magical thing to me. It made me uncomfortable to take off my shirt, especially in the pool or at the beach, and that really affected my self-confidence. Losing weight and getting lean feels like everyone's goal at one point in their life, because it just feels awesome and you feel good about yourself knowing that, hey, this is something that not everybody can do. There's a common belief that once you start working full-time or getting busy as a full-time student, it's very difficult to achieve your dream physique and get abs. I didn't really want that belief to affect me from achieving my dreams. So I decided that, okay, it's time to get some abs. So I'm proud to say that after 150 days of consistent hard work, I was able to get abs in my dream physique, even though I was working a 9 to 5. Here are the 2 core principles that I realized through my own experience that really helped me in achieving my goal of getting abs. The first principle is that you have to be in a calorie deficit and actually get leaner so that your abs will appear. What is a calorie deficit? Calorie deficit is when you actually have more calories out than calories in. So what is calories out? The base actually comes from your body's life-sustaining functions. Your body has a basal metabolic rate, which is the amount of calories that you burn when you rest through breathing, circulation, nutrient processing, etc. Additionally, you can actually increase your calories out by doing more cardiovascular exercises. These include running, swimming, or biking, anything that increases your heart rate for a sustained period of time. What is calories in then? Well, simply put, it's just the calories that you get from foods that you consume on a daily basis. So to achieve a calorie deficit, you simply just have to ensure that your calories out are greater than your calories in. So you can either increase the number of calories out or reduce the number of calories in. However, I recommend that you focus your efforts on the calories in. You can only do so much exercise before you feel excessive fatigue and just feel burnt out. And focusing on your calories in is just a more efficient way to go about your calorie deficit because it will result in the biggest impact. This means that you actually have to focus on your diet and the foods that you are eating. This means consuming lean proteins such as chicken breast, lean beef or lean pork, fish, etc. Lean proteins are low in calories because of the lower fat content that they have, and it will also make you feel more full. Complex carbohydrates are also a really good option. An example are potatoes and sweet potatoes. Those are really filling for the amount of calories that they actually have. Fruits and vegetables are also essential. They provide you with the essential micronutrients such as vitamins and minerals, and they also help you in feeling more full. Having a lower fat intake is also really essential because fat is actually the most calorie-dense macronutrients out of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. They actually contain 9 calories per 1 gram of fat as compared to carbohydrates and proteins, which contain 4 calories. So reducing the number of fat that you eat throughout the day will have a really big impact on your total calorie consumption for the day. Also try and have minimal sweet drinks because these are usually just empty calories and you don't really want to waste your calories. A way that you can actually create a bigger deficit is through your calories out as well. A simple way to complement your calorie deficit is by simply walking more steps. I recommend about 8 to 10,000 steps a day, and this is really a convenient way to increase the number of calories that you are burning. I feel that walking more is actually the most convenient way to increase the number of calories you're burning throughout the day because it's already part of your day and you can just integrate it seamlessly through your daily task. An example is if you have to go to the grocery store to get some groceries, walking around in the grocery store is already giving you that extra step count. Another way is just simply going to the park after you have a meal so that you can digest your food. And all these small little steps throughout the day will actually add up to a significant amount at the end of the day. Low intensity cardio is also a really good option if you want to have a more aggressive fat loss phase. I recommend that you do low effort cardio because you don't really want to burn yourself out by doing high intensity interval training, especially if you're doing it alongside your weight training. So low effort just means that you're doing it at a roughly conversational pace where you can still maintain a few sentences while you're actually doing the cardio. I suggest that you can do about 30 to 45 minutes of these sessions 2 to 3 times a week, and examples that you can do are simply incline treadmill in the gym, stairmasters, a light run, swimming or biking, anything that you actually prefer. How fast should you actually lose weight? This actually depends on how aggressive you want to go, and also what is your current starting point. Someone with a higher level of body fat at the start will be able to lose more weight rapidly as compared to someone that's already at a rather low body fat, because the person that's already at a rather low body fat has very little room for additional fat loss, and it will be extremely difficult in their case. A general rule of thumb is that you want to lose about 0.5% to 1% of your body weight each week. You could also go more aggressive, however, you have to realize that this will take more effort, more locking in on your diet and nutrition, and also potentially more energy loss. The initial phase will be faster and probably slow down later on as you're deeper into the cut. Personally, if you're not in a rush, I would recommend a slower rate of fat loss as mentioned in the general rule of thumb. That was how I was going about my weight loss journey, because I was also trying to maintain the muscle that I've built previously. So sometimes if you go too fast, it might actually result in some muscle loss. Now that you know what is a calorie deficit, how it actually works, and how it actually helps you to lose weight to get abs, we need to have an action plan to create this calorie deficit over a sustained period of time. Because theory can only bring us so far, and we actually have to take action in order to get the goal that we want to get. The first thing that you want to do is to actually track your weight every single day. You want to keep things consistent, so track your weight every single morning, fasted before you eat anything, and after you go to the bathroom. This will ensure that the data that you measure every day will be accurate when comparing on a day-to-day basis. If you were to weigh yourself after dinner versus the next morning when you weigh yourself before breakfast, the data that you compare won't be as accurate. This daily data will actually help you. Why? Because if you realize that your weight is rather stagnant day to day, then you know that you have to actually reduce the number of calories that you are consuming in order to ensure that you are in a calorie deficit and actually lose weight. If you realize that you're losing weight too fast, you can actually still increase your calories slightly while achieving a calorie deficit. Don't be affected by the day-to-day fluctuations. As long as you see that the overall trend is that your weight is going down, then you're actually doing a good job. Sometimes the day-to-day fluctuation also happens when you have a rather high sodium intake, which results in more water being retained in your body. So sometimes it's just mere water weight increase. Then the second thing to note is how you can actually progress your calorie deficit over the couple of months. This was how I actually progressed on my calorie deficit. In the early stages, which is the first 2 months, when I started at about 70 kilos and ended off at about 68 kilos, this was what I was doing. I just focused on reducing or removing the number of sweet drinks and also snacks that I was consuming. Just by reducing the number of sweet drinks and snacks, you can greatly reduce your calories by about 200 to 300 every single day. However, if you know that you have enough calories to fit in a treat or a snack, please do it because it keeps your motivation high and you don't feel overly restrictive with yourself. This helps you to stick with the plan throughout the process. Reducing the serving size of your carbohydrates and fats. What you want to do is you can simply just halve the amount of rice, pasta, or bread that you're having for a certain meal, or also reduce the number of peanut butter that you are using on your bread. Just by reducing it by half, you can actually reduce a great number of calories. Focusing on the quality of your foods is also really important. What I did was focus on leaner protein sources such as chicken breast, lean beef, lean pork, as I mentioned in the earlier part of this video, and also complex carbohydrates. This includes potatoes, sweet potatoes, things that will actually make you super full because these are actually very nutrients dense foods. Even though they are low in calories, they are just super filling, which is really good when you're trying to lose weight, as it keeps you full so that you won't be too hungry. You also want to keep your protein intake high, especially if you're still lifting weights. This ensures that you're retaining as much muscle mass as possible while you're actually losing fat in order to see your abs. You don't want to waste all your hard-earned effort, hard-earned muscle just because of this weight loss phase. At this point, I wasn't really tracking any calories yet, so these were simply the things that I did that helped me to lose a little bit of weight in the initial 2 months. And depending on where you're at with your weight loss journey, your current eating habits and lifestyle, simply by doing this, it could have a dramatic change and drop in your weight. In the later stage, was roughly about the last 3 months, was really when I had to lock in, and this was when I made the most progress in my weight loss. I started to track my calories daily, which was really the biggest factor that helped me in this whole weight loss. This ensures that every day I am in a calorie deficit. And for me, at my height and body weight, I was eating about 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day. Depending on what's your current weight, this might be higher, this might be lower. I don't weigh every single thing that I eat, I just estimate based on this portion size guide that you see. And I also really focus on the quality of the foods that I was eating. Really focusing on leaner proteins and complex carbohydrates, all these low calorie, nutrient dense foods that really make me full while having a very low calorie. I also reduced the variance in the foods that I was eating, so this ensures that I was more consistent in foods that I know will help to create a calorie deficit. So while I was working a 9 to 5, I actually didn't prepare all my meals. During lunch, I would take out food, but I would choose the takeout options that I know were healthier and had a lower calorie. So I just stuck to these rotations of foods that I know will work, and this really helps to reduce the variance and ensure that I'm really hitting the calorie deficit that I need. Then I also continued doing the rest of the things that I mentioned in the earlier phase. Overall, I just really locked in on my diet, focusing on leaner sources of protein and complex carbohydrates, as well as low calorie, nutrient dense foods. Alongside that, I was weighing myself every single day, having about an average of 10,000 steps a day, and also had 2 low intensity cardio runs. This was also alongside 4 days of weight training where I was pushing hard every single session. Aside from creating a calorie deficit to lose weight to see your abs, which is arguably the most important factor, another important factor is to actually train your abs hard. I always thought I just had to do squats and deadlifts and I don't have to train my abs directly. However, after starting to train my abs directly and training them hard was when I actually saw the greatest results. What this does is it actually makes them bigger and more visible. So even though you're at a slightly higher body fat, because you now have more muscle, your abs actually pop out more and bulge out more. So let's talk about training frequency and intensity. Like any other muscle group, you really want to focus on actually training them multiple times a week. I recommend hitting them about 2 to 3 times a week and roughly about 2 to 6 sets per session. For intensity, you really need to train close to failure so that it will be conducive for muscle growth. Some good exercises that I used are hanging leg raises. You can also do it with the captain's chair. That is a more stable version and also easier to load up weight. Another exercise that I love is cable crunches. So pick an ab exercise that you know you can progressively overload on easily. This means adding weight week to week or getting more reps in. Progressive overload is very essential for muscle growth, and if you know that you're doing a heavier weight for a certain exercise, it's a key indicator of muscle growth because you know that you are getting stronger and you are progressing. Doing these body weight exercises where you need to do a ton of reps might not be as conducive as sticking to movements where you can actually overload it with weight, as that will be easier to progressively overload on. An example that you see over here is through my 4-day upper-lower split. You can check out the video above for the full description on what are the exercises that I do. Over here is an example of how I train my abs on a 4-day upper-lower split. An example is on Monday I can do 3 sets of captain's chair leg raises. Then Thursday I do 3 sets of cable crunches, and maybe Saturday I can do a decline weighted sit-up. Just keep things very simple. And for the training technique, what you really want to focus on for ab training is that you want to focus on actually rounding your back. You don't want to actually involve your hip flexors too much, as that will actually take the tension off your abs, which is what we want to achieve, right? We want to build muscle for our abs. So when you do your exercises such as your hanging leg raise, captain's chair leg raise, really try and focus on rounding your back and actually bringing your pelvis towards your chest, bringing your hips to your chest and actually like making your back around. That will actually engage your abs. If you guys are interested in a more in-depth guide on how you can get abs with a 9 to 5 or with a busy schedule as a full-time student, you can check out my guide down in the description below. It contains a big range of low-calorie, nutrient-dense foods that will keep you full while trying to lose weight. It also contains knowledge of foods so that you can eat out while still getting your abs, and also practical strategies that you can use to curb your appetite while losing weight. It also has a 12-week detailed action plan that you can follow that removes all the guesswork from getting the abs that you always desired. So consider checking it out. I hope you guys found this video informational, and if you enjoy these kinds of videos, do consider liking and also subscribing so that I can provide more of these types of content for you guys. Just stay patient in your journey for getting abs, and I promise you that as long as you follow the steps that I've mentioned, be consistent on a day-to-day basis, you will definitely get the abs that you always wanted to get.